Yo, yo. Let's get the camera on my good side, dude. All right. What's been going on? All right. We still have to figure out what we're doing with regards to our full toilet, which is starting tomorrow, ladies and gentlemen. If you can believe it. Just doing some quick housekeeping. Sorry about that. So, we got a couple of different projects here to pick from. We got 3 projects, as a matter of fact. All right. So, obviously, Inconsummate's remake has been shrouded in a mysterious amount of development and basically never got off the ground properly. There's a few times where I made decided pushes to make it happen, but because of its reliance on the HYDRA game state and the ever-evolving nature of that HYDRA game state, I never really felt like I was in a good position to actually work on the project, because it was likely that a bunch of units were going to come into play where you would actually experience the development, right? Like you'd experience a game state within HYDRA that would mandate certain map design elements in order for the game to not feel relatively unfair in certain matchups, I guess. So I would liken it to like if you started making the campaign before you implemented siege tanks in Starcraft itself. Like they morph so much about engagements. They use height in a very different way than a lot of other units do. Like they benefit disproportionately from having long distances away from their opponents, and similar things, right? So that's a pretty big knock against the idea of making a campaign, and siege tanks only coming into play after the maps have already been designed or something, right? So it stands to reason that there could be something like that happens to HYDRA, where a new unit or a new mechanic comes into play, and it ends up being incredibly morphing when it's used. And if I were trying to make Inconsummate itself somewhat like backwards compatible in that sense, where you could play Inconsummate and I would be like updating HYDRA and Inconsummate at the same time, not forever, obviously. At some point, Inconsummate would remain like static and HYDRA's development would continue. But up until that point, it never really felt right to work on it. So I think now, I mean, HYDRA's still missing a lot of stuff. HYDRA's still missing all of the micro-oriented units like champions, operatives, aberrants, and it's also still missing tier 4 and tier 5 stuff. And it's even missing some tiers 1 through 3 items as well, be it upgrades or units like the Madrigal and the Paladin, which are not properly implemented yet, and stuff like that. So while HYDRA's game state continues to be missing certain things, at least that stuff seems a bit more in range. The tier 1 through 3 stuff and some of the even global changes like the range changes and stuff, those seem to be a bit more sensible and a bit more within reach within the next 3 months of development. And maybe we could even do something like having tier 4 added in without the tier 5, or some of tier 4 stuff being added in. Maybe we could do something like that. But part of risk assessment for any of these projects would basically be something to the effect of blocking out exactly what needs to be changed, right? So blocking out essentially what needs to be done to make the project, like I said, realistic, like possible at all. Okay, so this establishes the idea that one of the first things that we would need for Inconsummate, right? If we were to start writing stuff in. Because I already have another project that I'll walk through. I've already written a risks and considerations thing here. Pretty much have to rework all this stuff at some point. So we should... what was the first one? So that's just a pretty basic copy-paste. But the basic idea is we need to make a static build of HYDRA that doesn't receive significant internal changes so that we can conceptualize in an accurate manner what the actual developments are going to be. This is just more stuff, basically. Copy and pasting. So heroes for sure is one of the things that I was thinking about. Thing about heroes is I really have very little interest in pursuing it at this point, so... Yeah, I guess we should just copy that one in. But there's a couple of other things that I should mention here. Rust have defeated the man. It's okay. Man will defeat Rust by fucking destroying it, deleting it from existence, and then working in C++. That's the way that man defeats Rust, man. Hope you're still in good spirits despite all that. Is it allowed to make full toilet maps without build new? I mean, I would love build new, but if it's not there, it's not there, you know what I mean? Spending the first month of full toilet porting all AI functionality to GPTP. What a mess. Now, what did you say about your So you said earlier that Nave's decision to make globals a mute X. Space stations as in like doodads or whatever. Would it be possible to rewrite the global system to not be a mutex? Or is that a lot of work as well, refactoring it? Well, Bethel's going to be working on his own project, so I imagine that probably won't happen per se. But... hi. I did see your message about pathfinding functions, but as far as I understand, Open Brood War has a fair amount of stuff like that, so we could use that as a reference for making our own. Not for Brood War itself, obviously. Like you said, a lot of their stuff is like functionally different, so it would work fine in its own engine, but not if backported to Brood War. I think it, the pathfinding issue was always going to be an issue, and it's kind of like one of those things that there was like a titan looming in the distance that was even more potentially disruptive compared to what's it called? The data array stuff that we're trying to make extenders for. I feel like the pathfinding would also take months of development, Just like the graphics would take months of development in terms of like figuring out a way to render without palette limitations. So, yeah. At this point, I think we just fuck off with that. We fly over to our own development land. We have some fun there. I think that's what we do. In 3 plus 2 months. The plus 2 is optional. Depends on where we're at. For sure, yeah. We should use well, our format should definitely have the opportunity to handle stuff like Five Nations. We shouldn't do atlases, I don't think. I think we should have them be organized. But Five Nations, for example, has facing directions, unique facing directions for every single thing. So, like, they have, what is it, like a 32 or something direction? I think that's what it is. So 32 facing directions. We need that, basically. That's what I think. So that would be really good if we could to get something like that done. And then maybe this would encourage DF to make a bit more progress on rendering the default assets as well. Because while we can continue to use like the Marine and all the default assets from Starcraft, if he's able to re-render those, like recreate them and render them and then animate them, we can then have them facing all of the extra directions. So oh, okay. So you actually wanted a station thing, yeah. Well, you could just grab it from the game itself, but yeah, I can do that. If I can find it. Oh yeah, it's my. Oh wait, no, it would be Brood War. Yeah, so it's in here somewhere. Build assets images. Okay. Fine. I'll just copy and paste it. I think there are some space resources, yeah. I can take a look after I upload this. It's going to take a while. Oh yeah. So it looks like they have some 2D backgrounds or something that they use in the back. They collate in the background. I'm not sure. These are fairly large, so you could definitely add some of them. But I don't know how well they would jive with the parallax and the insane shit that you would have to do for like the palette and stuff, right? So some of these could definitely make decent doodads, though. It's just that when they don't animate at all, it seems kind of weird. But also, if they did animate, it'd be pretty shit. Here's parallax style stuff. It looks like, but again, I don't know how great it would actually end up being for the purpose of this particular idea. So. It was just in the middle of a mod stream, so it wasn't particularly organized. I tried to play the the tutorial and it broke, so I didn't play it again after that. Ugh. Yeah. I was very dissatisfied with that as well. I was like, why can I not check that ever? It's pretty frustrating. You, Zephyrus. But I was thinking about this too, Iquare. This is a real fucking weird and obviously like very irrelevant point, honestly, but I was thinking about the fact that I started off with Inconsummate. That was the first project that I released. A Zerg-centered campaign, right? Why can I not open this? Hello? There we go. Cheapers creepers. So, Zerg-centered campaign, and then we go to HYDRA, and what do? We do just the first campaign released, and it's Terran. And now I'm considering Deliverance, which happens to be Protoss. It's almost like these things, you know, have some sense to them. That could just be thrown out the window if I decided to make something other than Deliverance, of course. But just a thought, I guess. So, all three of these particular sections are actually done in the briefing. I actually have a very early draft of this briefing already done that I could show. If I can find it. Guess I'll have to go here. Oh, wait. Jeez. Turn off annotations, bro. Yeah, I haven't completed the map description stuff at all. Anyway, we'll go ahead and check this out. You guys can tell me what you think. It's obviously very old, 2016. So voice acting quality is not going to be great. Choreography is probably going to be too slow. But this is basically the rough cut from a while ago. As you can see, this is a project I've been working on for a long fucking time, on and off. So
Praetor, the reinforcements from Arnos were supposed to turn the tide of this battle. How are we to hold against the swarm without them? It would appear, brother, that the Judicators neglected to send them. Our well of support has apparently run dry. Then what are we to do now? We shall discuss our plan of action away from the maw of death that lies before us. Return to the Nexus now! Judicator, the Praetor's forces have withdrawn from Aradas. It appears that Tauros has ordered an evacuation. The remnants of his warband are seeking reinforcements in Antioch.
Has he not heard the news of Antioch's fall?
Apologies, Judicator, but the communications with his contingent have been scant. We were not able to update them on the fate of the Arnos warband either. It is likely that the Praetor has assumed the worst.
Very well. Return to your posting, and keep me apprised of the situation in Aradas. I want to know if the Zerg fortify their position, or if they simply move on to another province.
And the Praetor?
Dispatch an observer to keep track of Tauros' whereabouts. I will deal with the Praetor.
As you say, Adjudicator.
Entaro Adun, Judicator. My duties in Laroth are nearly complete. I assume you require a report. I am no longer as concerned with the fate of Laroth's archives as I once was, Deimos. Something else has been brought to my attention. Something I need taken care of, urgently. I will delegate the last of the tasks to my Templar. How may I be of service, Nerazan? You will be advising the Praetor of Aradas. His contingent has fallen to the swarm, and the survivors are now en route to Antioch, with the hopes of replenishing what they have lost. Unless I am mistaken, Judicator, Antioch has already fallen. You are not mistaken, Templar, but the Praetor is acting on old information. Antioch was the closest stronghold to Aradas. It makes sense that he would order a retreat there. We must act immediately. Indeed. I am sending your Arbiter the feed from an observer that is attempting to track Taurus's location. Travel to the province of Almathok and recall the Praetor and his warband to the closest outpost you can find. I will brief him on his next mission after he arrives. Almathok. This is another province beset upon by Zerg. In fact, Taurus's compatriot, Asalamir, reported the incursion only recently. What is your plan for the Praetor, Adjudicator? Concern yourself with the matter at hand, Deimos. After you bring the Praetor to his new destination, you may return to the Roth at your leisure. I am sure that Tauros is capable of completing his next objective without your assistance. Now go, before the Praetor stumbles upon another conflict.
As you will, Nerazan. I shall depart immediately. Numbers are dwindling by the minute, and it will not take long for these aliens to find us. Hiding away in this temple is not going to save us, Praetor. Duly noted, warrior. Let me know when you have devised an alternative. Dragoon! Praetor? You hail from Antioch, do you not? Aye. Why do you ask? The concerns of our brethren are not baseless. We need to leave this sanctum as soon as possible. Do you know where the nearest exits are? Alas, brother, I was no steward of the Templar. Perhaps our best option would be to reconnoiter our surroundings in separate groups. Preposterous! The Zerg thrive when their enemies are divided. It is a consideration, Zealot, that if we divide ourselves on our own terms, we may yet hold an advantage. However, until we are sure that an exit lies ahead, I would like to keep all of our forces together. Very well, Praetor. At the very least, we may be able to find... I knew it! They were right behind us the whole time! This temple is quite possibly the worst place to pick a fight with the Swarm! We need to find our way to open ground! By the gods! Brother, your plan had better work! Praetor, we will not survive if we split up! Lead your brethren out of here immediately! Find an exit and hold out as long as you can! I will find you, and when I do, we will deliver a swift response to this aggression! Entaro Adun, brother! May the gods deliver you to your destination. Oh, they'll deliver me, if only so I can deliver unto these Hellspawn the annihilation they have so rightfully earned! Ah!
So yeah, the strongest part of that briefing was probably the opening, and then it sagged a lot in the middle, and it pretty much didn't justify the whole ending stage, I think. So obviously, like I said, it was very, very dated, but it was a nice like proof of concept of what the sort of opening section was going to be like, because it sets you up with a lot of backstory. It could definitely have been done in like half the time, especially in that midsection. And then like the later section was like more spectacle than really any actual information, I think. So that's probably the biggest issue with that particular opening. But this write-up essentially is trying to summarize the events of the briefing. Also, of course, I was still convinced that Aradas was an original name. I had never played. I think it's in Retribution. There's a planet called Aradas or something. So I had never played that at this point. And I thought I must have like learned it just from somebody talking or saying the word, because obviously like you don't just generate a name like that and it being 1-to-1. But I had thought based on that, I was like, all right, well, yeah, we'll call it Aradas. So eventually I changed it to Avaton. I made the same mistake in Inconsummate, actually. I still thought Aradas was a reasonable thing, and everybody's like, oh, he's referencing Retribution. That's so cool. I was like, what the fuck? I had never even played that. So that was just embarrassing. But, changing some of the proper nouns around. But like this first briefing is just, or this first paragraph here is the first section of the briefing, where it's like the Ultralisk shows up to fuck shit up, and there's like that big battle. I still think the opening where you have that like that frenzy of battle that plays at the beginning is pretty cool. Like you're looking at something like it's just audibly, it sounds like you're really in the din of battle, which I think is really nice. Like the sound stage or whatever. I think I'd really knocked that out of the park back then with that particular thing. There's not really that much that even needs to be changed now if I were to take that exact sound file. Like maybe I would make it so that it fades in a little bit quicker, because it feels like you're just sitting there listening to some weird muffled audio for a while. And that's one of those cases where if we had a visual aid, if it wasn't just staring at a fucking briefing, that would be a lot more reasonable. It's almost like there's a lot of subtle nuances to the sound staging. Like characters having like sounds for them moving around and shit that could definitely get lost or just not notice that much and don't have the impact that they really ought to. And it would make a lot more sense. It was like I was trying to design a 3D audio of a scene that was actually a 3D cutscene, but in briefing form. And that was one of the main reasons why I think it was so dry at some points and sagged a little bit. I also think that the opening dialogue could have been minimized to some extent. The voice acting was really terrible too. In particular, you get this giant din of battle type opening where all these sounds are playing and it's clearly very frenetic and nobody knows what the fuck is happening clearly, right? In this particular context, you're looking at the idea of like all of a sudden you basically have to figure out why this zealot seems catatonic, and he sounds like Zeratul or something. He puts me right to sleep, So like even the zealot that was talking at the end stage, the third section of the briefing, was like more emphatic because he was like complaining about Tauros being an asshole or something, and like that actually was selling the emotion more than the first one. The first one was just like not even particularly perturbed by the situation, it sounded like. So that was the case where I think the execution floundered. But the concept I think is fine for that opening section, and that's probably all you need, because it establishes Tauros. He's clearly the leader. He's also a man. Like he's fucking executing people and like killing people while talking and stuff, which definitely feels a lot more dynamic. So like that feels a lot better as characterization for him. He is meant to be the Berserker. Like that's his nickname, is the Berserker of Avaton. So he's got something like that going for him. Really, the biggest issue is I don't know how to resolve a briefing like that shows a hero in battle and establishes him as like a really like a seemingly powerful warrior. But then we go into game and there's no hero system because fuck heroes. You know what I mean? Like that feels a little weird. But I'm not sure how it would be resolved elsewhere, like in another way. Like I don't know how you would introduce a character with those traits. So yeah, I don't know. I also think that in default StarCraft, you can't really give the player character, the protagonist of the character's playing as, you can't give them a significant amount of traits without being able to customize their tech tree a lot. So what I mean by this is, if you're not having them as a hero, they don't have a way to manifest their gameplay, or like through gameplay manifest their character. So if I want Tauros to be this berserker type character that thrives in the heart of battle or whatever, like the heat of battle, and is like, you know, quick to pull the trigger on stuff, there's a way for me to do that through his tech tree by adding some upgrades to customize his units or something like that. But there's not really a way for me to do that. Like, if I'm not having him as a hero, I have to really make it a specific, like, tech tree specific stuff, like ingrain it into his opportunity there. And you set up a singular regular zealot to be a different color. Well, no, I mean, I could have it be that he's an in-game unit, but I wouldn't want that, is what I mean. So, like, there's a way to execute, or there's a way to present his character in gameplay. I don't want heroes at all, because they're always, they morph the game too much, generally speaking. So, what I was thinking is, we'll have this sort of, maybe like a unique text structure, right? And that unique text structure will be, you know, some sort of berserker. I don't know what you would call it. Like, but you know, it could be like a shrine to the berserker or something. And that could be like where, like, it's a tier 3 text structure, or maybe it's tier 2 or something similar to Citadel of Adun. But it allows you to create like research upgrades and unlock certain new units or something that are specific to Tauros. Like Tauros's warband has different things, and it's like the idea is that that's influencing his tech and the way that you can express your skill as a player by virtue of having his shit. And then in the future, you'd be able to get like additional unique tech structures. Like you could get one for, there's like another character that was referenced there, a Salamir. So maybe you get a shrine to him at some point, and like you get a Salamir specific stuff. Like eventually, you know, I don't know exactly when that would happen because he's going to be an AI ally, so he'll build his own shrine. But yeah, I know. Why? Yeah, why not 228 times 3? Why not 228 to the power of 3? Why not 333? 333 333. But I think having some shrines that essentially act as like advanced upgrade structures would probably be pretty useful. I mean, maybe you could even warp in like, I'm going to be replacing a lot of the Protoss tech in this as well. Like, we're outright removing Dark Templar, Dark Archons, and Corsairs because Nerazim, the Dark Templar stuff, just flat out don't exist in this chronology. It's an alt history spin-off thing, so it's not your average garden variety campaign. So I don't care as much about like maintaining consistency with the original story. I'm really just using the original setting as a way to. It's like a much more honest approach or straightforward approach than Inconsummate. In Inconsummate, I'm like, hey, check this out. This could have happened at the same time as the regular story. And then you're like attached to the characters by the end of that campaign. And then you're like, okay, I want to see where these characters go. And I'm like, okay, they're going to go places you never fucking thought Starcraft would go. So strap in. Like that's the idea behind the Zabalba series, and Inconsummate being the first campaign in that. Whereas Deliverance is just like, fuck the story, dude. We're using this setting, and we're gonna go wherever we feel like going from the get-go, like from the very first frame. Like one of the first things that'll happen in the campaign is that it will be established that Phoenix is 100% dead, not fucking recalled to a Dragoon. Like there will be some obvious dialogue line to the effect of like, we attempted to recover the body of Phoenix, but his suit was damaged beyond repair, and you know it is. You know, it seems he will never be able to be revived. I'll make it very obvious without making it super deadpan and dumb, but it'll basically be a line for the benefit of the audience in that particular respect, because it's important that people know that this is not a campaign where you're dealing with fucking, oh yeah, this thing is still canon. Like, I don't care. The original story is not even that important. Honestly, I might not even include Phoenix at all, because maybe none of the original characters are there. I don't know. But if I do decide to include Phoenix and Aldaris or whatever, like it'll be to have them die basically, so that you know, like, all right, everything that's related to the original story doesn't seem to be happening here. I actually think that, like, by doing this, it'll allow me to essentially rewrite a lot of the stuff that I don't, that won't help me in many respects. I'm pretty sure that, for example, the Conclave are going to glass the planet, or they're going to attempt to glass the planet. Like, that's going to be their idea of a solution to this problem, is glassing Ire. And there's going to be a few tribes that are not going to be too interested in that. They that want to do something else. And one of those tribes of Protoss are a sort of an outcast tribe. And they send a representative to try to parlay with the Conclave in that sense. There's just a lot of weird shit in this campaign. Like, the Umojans show up to try to mind control a Cerebrate, and when they redeploy it on the planet, they're like, all right, we seem to have control over it. Put it back on Ire so that we can study how it works. And the Protoss are like, what the fuck? Like, you asshole. Well, I guess we'll be removing the Valkyrie and stuff. But I can't imagine removing a lot of stuff. Like, the medics are still going to be fairly important. Unless we can come up with a way for the AI to use shamans so well, that they don't need medics. I'm pretty sure medics are still going to be there. But, we'll see. Obviously, the shaman is meant to be a Umojan unit in the canon, in the lore. Huh. But, yeah, there's tons of shit. All right, so I don't think there would be anything that I would remove from the Zerg. They feel like the weakest roster already because I don't have assets to use for them, so even if I had all the unit IDs in the world, I would still need graphics to show custom Zerg units. So, like, I can't. We're still using a fucking recolored Basilisk that I made in like 10 seconds for a recolored Hydralisk for the Basilisk. Super placeholder. So anyway, that's essentially what Deliverance is all about. Alt history stuff. We'll show Phoenix is completely dead at the beginning or something to get that premise across. I think it's important to present that information that way, to show that we're taking a divergent path in terms of the story, and to like establish that very early on. I think that makes sense. Even though it would be everywhere in like the marketing, if you will, like the README or whatever, the external material that you would read, it'd be like Deliverance is an alt history campaign or whatever. Like that's a decent way to describe it. Alt history single player Protoss campaign. So I guess I can actually. And people are going to be able to see that and come to their own conclusions. Oops. So I actually opened up the old version of the map, but as you can see, there's some issues. So I guess I should pop open the brush palette. Try to repair this as best I can. Oh, that must have been one of them. Wait. No, I have no idea what that was. Yeah, probably. I think I had one or two. They were really bad, though. as you might imagine. Oh, this isn't even the oldest stuff. This is the 2017 attempt. Dude, it's 447,000 bytes. 447 megabytes. Oh man, it's this version. Okay, I remember this actually. So this isn't even the oldest version. I wonder where that is though. Maybe it's like in the abandoned one. Yeah. Oh, ha! Back in 2013. Oh, okay. I was mistaken. So this is the very first version of it. It was called a different project. Hey, look, I've got large start locations. Look, even more large start locations. Dude, I'm so proud of myself. I have large mineral placements. Actually, even my mineral placements are better than Lard's, at the very least. Hard to be worse. How much pre-placed supply you want to know? Blue is red. So player 8 is red, and they've got 88 supply. 88, brother. Player 2 is purple, and they've got 30. And 3 is orange, and they've got 22. So actually, red has a ton, but it's mostly just like static shit. And the player appears to be 7. And they have 22? Oh, they probably own this stuff. So they've got 6, 8, 12. So honestly, not that far away from some of the other guys. So not too much, honestly. It actually gets worse as time goes on. This is a fairly simple map. But everything was like super rote. It wasn't dynamic at all. All right, so here's an example of a really wild map. This one probably has way more insane shit in it. I don't quite remember what the fuck my idea was for this one. So I think that this one had a... no, there was no custom AI until Inconsummate. This one had a micro section or something. And you had to clear this cavern. And then you'd come over here and you'd have to clear this entire base with like reinforcements that you would get or whatever. And I remember I had to make a really long cutscene after this so that the creep would recede and the player could build stuff, which is pretty fucking funny because we didn't have something like remove creep, obviously. So all the while, there's like this Protoss like these survivors that are completely surrounded by all this pre-placed supply, but don't worry, they live. Or if they die, you lose the game or something. I don't really remember what the context was. Then there's Brown, who's obviously got a ton of pre-placed shit. What the fuck is this? Nice. Very epic. Gross. Look at all this stuff, man. Yeah, they spawned units in. Shuttle 3, Nidus 3. Shuttle 3, Spire. Shuttle 3, Spawning Pool. Shuttle 3, Nidus 1. Shuttle 3, Nidus 2. Trip. Shuttle 3, Rescue. Yeah. You can see how, like, there's way too many locations in this map, honestly. The classic gateway trap. So this gateway trap was, when you move a unit here, it blows the gateway up and Zerglings spawn. I don't know why. There's no fucking sense made for that. Yeah, so shuttles would drop over here and if Taurus move and some other shit. This is where I first got the idea to name a Protoss unit Hierophant, but it was a melee unit. It was like a tier 1.5 Zealot or something. And yeah, so a Salamir would be over here. I'm not sure what all of these tripwire locations are, but it's pretty shit, whatever it is. Anyway, all this was leading up to the point where you would eventually strike at the at this base. You'll notice that there's a ton of locations over here, as well as locations over all of these structures. So the reason why there are locations on the structures is because I was going to set a lot of their HP values to really low and kill some of them and have like an obvious vacancy in the base, like what I have over here. And the reason for that is this is like where the Cerebrit is. You're supposed to go and kill the Cerebrit, but you get here and the Emojins have taken it. And that was the big twist at the end or whatever. But the mission is honestly incredibly meandering. What the fuck is the point of this? This is like if you see this, you can laugh at it or something, I guess. I don't know. It's an Easter egg. But yeah, incredible amount of pre-play shit. Obviously gets a lot worse. Good luck reading anything over here. Nice doodads. There's about 4,130 doodads. Whew. Holy moly. Check me out, dude. Alright. So, fast forward to 2017. This is when I'm working on this version. Still incredibly gimmicky. And micro-oriented. And tons of dialogue. And tons of pausing. And gameplay interruptions. This is basically Flame Knives, honestly. I don't know, maybe this wasn't 2017. I think this was 2016 and I just last modified it in 2017 or something. Because I don't remember working on this after Inconsummate. Oh, I did work on it before Inconsummate, but that was when I was refactoring it to make it more macro. But at the end of the day, you look at all this shit, right? And you're like, okay, well, I guess there's a micro section. Get this shitty destroyed bridge. And then you get recalled. And then you center view over some epic cinematic stuff like broodlings attacking a dragoon and stuff. That's why they're owned by a different player so that they can be given to one that is hostile to the dragoon. And then, or something is associated with that. Or maybe it's like just unallies them or something. But you see like, you know, units moving around. Like there's all this choreography with all these fucking locations. I actually used the maximum number of locations in this map. Holy moly. So yeah. There's, as you can see, there's a lot of shit over here. And then I didn't want the player to see a hatchery over here. So I had, like, because there's this, like, opening sequence where some zealots die to zerglings or something. And I didn't want the player to see a hatchery, so I respawn it afterwards or something. I don't know why. And then obviously all this shit, like there's some battle happening at the beginning. And that's when Tauros gets warped in and you get control of the space. But obviously you have fucking no resources, so it's going to be a real grind. You had to abuse your hero just to get access to money. And yeah, pre-play supply. What do we got here? Player 6. 217 supply. They actually have more max supply than pre-play supply. That's pretty impressive. And then player 7... a mean 38 supply, man, that's all. Now, meanwhile, there's all this shit, and player 8 is a Zerg as well, and they've got 42, because 42. And don't mind the siege tank, I had to replace the siege tank for a Salamir, because he had some special abilities and stuff. But, this was a Salamir's base, and you eventually, like, get him as an AI ally or something. Or maybe you just took control of his base, I don't really remember. It's pretty shit. And that's where we come to this. So it's obviously pretty impossible to see anything because of the tile set issues. Which I'm trying to restore now, but it's not looking too hot. There's all these dead doodads that I was using that are no longer in the tile set. So it's pretty fucked. Kind of foobar. But the core idea of it was that you would see a considerable amount of, shall we say, attempts made to, oops, I didn't place that correctly. I think that's right. Yeah. So there were going to be attempts made to make this much more macro-oriented. Still some pre-play shit like those Zerglings over there. I don't really know why. They don't even have a spawning pool, so Who knows? But yeah, there were 3 Zerg enemies. All these pre-placed things are just for, they were for marking the base layout of a Salamir, who starts over here. So he actually, it's a principality because I have it in the HYDRA tile set, but it was actually meant to be a hero revival structure or something. So anyway, that's that. I'm done looking through memory lane in that regard. So yeah, Deliverance 7-map campaign, in its current planning anyway. It's got a lot of characters. I would definitely be looking to get some people involved for voice acting, some of the roles here, but that'll be way later, obviously. And I think it could work out pretty well. I mean, I haven't done the plot breakdown yet, but it's not like an incredibly complicated, I guess it is, by definition, it's high concept, right? Because it's not quite possible. No, well, I'm thinking of doing this one. I can't work on Achmet's Adventures because of the unit ID limitation. I was going to have like 5 custom factions and a brand new race, so that obviously would not work. All right. So, I think I'm going to go get a handful of macadamias and use the bathroom. And when I return, we'll be smashing out the plot breakdown of Deliverance. I might look at adapting some more stuff to the what's it called? The Wikidot. Like I might be moving other projects over. And we shall see how everything else works out. But yeah, I don't really fully know what exactly I'm going to be working on yet. What I do know is there's going to be a considerable amount of... I'm going to have to plan out what I'm actually going to be updating HYDRA with, as far as adding new units and stuff. Because... Or like what each individual project would request as far as new units go. So we'll have to figure that out. So yeah. Pretty much it. I shall return in a few minutes. Yeah, since it's unlikely I'll be working on Ahmed's adventure, I don't really have there's no reason for me to work on a desert map, I don't think. Which basically means I just won't make any of my own blends, but I'll still do all the blends that you need. Eventually. I started working on the High Dirt Cliff yesterday. Updates to it so that it's not quite as ugly. It basically means I have to remake the whole thing, so... I think we're probably a third of the way done or something like that. Well, maybe not even that close, but... I only worked on it for about an hour, so... Probably take 3 or 4 more hours to do. See if I can be fucked to bang that out today. As far as doodads go, though, obviously, I think there's some asphalt doodads that are added to higher dirt, but I didn't actually take the dirt doodads and organize them and put them on higher dirt. I will eventually. Okay, so... That reminds me, I was going to ask DF if he was interested. In participating for Full Toilet. I have no idea, man. What is it exactly? It's a series of images? If you could create them using AI script, that might be a way to do it. You create them at a certain location. It's a pretty shitty workaround, but that's my first thought. Yeah, if you don't want to bind it to a unit, you would have to place it via AI script, I think. It's probably the only way. You'll have to create a custom AI script command that will be able to place that decal's GRP at a location, and then just like you could leave a unit in the area in the map itself. Like you could place a unit and then get its coordinates and have that be mapped out. But it's gonna take you a while to make sure that it connects with everything. But that's my first thought, anyway. I don't know. I'll think about it some more. What's up, Veek? I'll probably have to make individual pages for the scripts themselves. All right, so I've plugged that stuff in. Still plenty of shit to add, and formatting may end up being modified anyway. The good thing about all this is we'll have a pretty solid... even if we don't end up going with Deliverance, we go with something else, we'll have a really solid foundation for when we do decide to revisit this particular production. I think I'll take a quick break from writing that stuff, and I wanted to test something in PyIce. On a more technical side. Oh, right. This isn't GRP entry. This is images dat entry. Well, in that case, I have no idea. Because there is no images dat entry for that. So that would be why. Find the Paladin. Copy him over here. So, Veek, what are you up to today? I guess Veek has been waving, and then he went back to bed or something. Pretty goofy that I just now realized that I needed to add another images entry. This whole time, goofball. Epic. At the very least, we do have like fully extended images, which is really nice. I'm happy about that because now we can have like, I think it was like 65535 or something. We have 2 byte image entries, so we can throw in like, here's some custom reads, here's some custom this, like, you know, a particle effect or whatever. No worries about that. And then, you know, flingies will eventually be 2 bytes. Sprites already are 2 byte. Pretty cool stuff, man. Just grabbing some files, guys. Don't mind me. Have to add some more shit to my playlist. And of course, it has to be the Project 8, MCMX-CIX. Check him out. I guess you can't extract more than one archive at a time for some reason. Oops. Fuck. Oh, I forgot I even had this running. Okay. I wanted to check something real quick. Well, all right. Okay. We've managed to get a fair bit of planning done at this point. It's definitely the most I've planned anything in a long time. There should probably be another section that goes into detail about the custom tech, though. Oh boy, what is this? Veek's working on Pi Ice. Very nice. Oh yeah, that's right. I was also going to do something like a glossary or whatever. I guess that can be a... Yeah, hold on. I gotta reorder some shit here, too. I think, like, presentation should probably be over here, underneath risks and considerations. Then we can add... Jesus Christ. Destroyed. All right. Added some more details there. Not sure if there's really anything else. I guess Magister would probably be worth developing. Might change the titles of these two, swap them. Not sure yet. It's obviously a gimmick. The story, all of the missions being named the, followed by something. You got hammer and anvil, and then you got sword, shield, sheath, helm. And then at the end, the great retaliation. But I like it. It kind of paints a picture of this assembly of all the equipment that you need before you charge forth and destroy. Before you make your stand. But we'll see how it assembles. That's Akhmek. I don't remember what the oh shit, I forgot about that guy. I was the sniper. Heh. Awful, disgusting monorail. Hey, maybe you can send the file to DF and he can take a look at it and use it as a proof of concept. You never know, man. Oh. What a mess. Oh man, yeah, I don't know if this graphic is going to end up being usable whatsoever. So much manual correction. I wonder why though. It's really weird. Oh man. I'll probably just have to redo the conversion from Atomic Punk, which really sucks. Because I'll have to like process them in a different way. All right. Well, I gotta pee, so BRB. All right, boys, we're back. Hopefully for good this time. Yeah, what exactly is the issue with iScript in that sense? Yeah, but it shouldn't be. I don't understand why it is. Do we need to make a new iScript tool just to circumvent this? Because at that point, we just tap Eidolon on the shoulder and say, hey, man. Hey. Hey, man. Hey. Hey, man. All right, iQuare, let me give you what I did here. So first I matched every single instruction that uses, for example, 5.2 F5.6.8 for image. I searched for this instruction, copied all lines that have that, and that's what I got here with the first couple lines. And then afterwards, I searched for comma 1388, which is the length of the images array. And I copied all instructions that have that, and I pasted them in here. Then I did the same thing for bullets. Notably, bullets is much larger because there's a lot that's related to 64. And then I did 1F4 and 9C4. 9C4 has a good amount too. So that's what I've done so far. I don't know how to determine which ones are actually related, though. Like, I don't know if all of them are related, because they're all comparing to 1388, for example, in images. Or if only the ones that are comparing an actual array of things are related to 1388. Or are related to the images thing itself. Because in that case, it obviously reduces the amount of shit that we got to worry about. A lot. If it's only arrays. But I don't know. There's also 1388.0, which I don't know what's up with that. That seems like I can't imagine there's too much of that. So what do you think? What should I be doing now that I've gotten all of these addresses? Oh, I haven't searched for push. I'll do that next. There's nothing that pushes 1388. Well, I'll send you this for now. So all of them need to be repatched. Is there an example of a GBTP patch somewhere or a repatch? I don't mind starting to do it now, but I want to make sure I'm doing it properly so that I don't create more work for you in the future. I guess first I will try to unfuck my SFX stuff. All right, I just want to be able to help where I can, man. Oh, I see. It's in namespace unit stat. That's why we don't have it. Well, now the only issues seem to be coming from the fact that, well, I don't know what's up with this. Int. Yeah, so the only issues that I'm coming up with this particular hook seem to be that I can't figure out a way to make it so that my shit is not constant. I really don't know why. It's... Oh, I don't know why it's like that. Improperly terminated macro invocation. Is there any functional difference? What? Oh, okay. It was just Visual Studio trolling me, I guess. Maybe it actually just works. It doesn't... Somehow it doesn't see that it is modifiable. Oh. Neither of these are const, so I don't really get why. Well, I mean, this one was up until now, this top one, but the one below was not, so I don't know. Yeah, I just don't get it. What the fuck? What a disaster. Well, maybe Voyager will be able to help a homie out. Yeah, as far as the iScript thing goes, it might actually be required that we just port ACE to GPTP or something, but that is going to be a while. Before that's ready. I'm not sure why the buildings are using annoyed first and annoyed last. When they only receive... You can only specify what sounds for them. So I don't know, man. Definitely strange. Well, anyway, managed to do a little bit of GPTV work. By the time this day ends, I'm sure I'll have a solution to whatever this issue is, and that'll help me fix up some of the other hooks as well. And yeah, looking forward to doing that. This change, at the very least, will fix not being able to set units that are not... Basically, originally it checks for like a unit array or whatever. It checks like ID range. And all non-building units are above that, and all buildings are below that. And so if you use units below that range, or outside of that range, you use entries for actual units, like the Vorvaling, or the Basilisk, or the Paladin, for example. All that stuff, you're no longer allowed to actually specify things like ready sounds, what, and confirmation sounds and stuff, so this hook will fix that problem, basically. So yeah. We'll see how that goes. Hopefully it goes well. So, that will do it for today's mod stream. Catch you guys later on. Thanks for hanging out. Mwah.